Okay, so at the moment we know that we've got something that when we press play is causing the ball to shoot off pretty quickly. So it's disappearing very fast. I want to just try and constrain things a bit by putting some walls up around the floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cube and I'm going to reset it so that it's in the middle. So there it is, right in the middle of the floor. And I'm going to move it to the side, um, move it to the extreme side. In fact, this is moving it to the right, isn't it? Yeah. So let's just turn that round a bit so it looks the same as the camera view. So if I move this cube to the side, by the time I get to the end, it's going to be 50, isn't it? Because the floor is 100 wide, so half that way along is going to be 50. If I make it so that it's 100 deep, so if I make the z-axis 100, then that will form quite a nice little barrier there. Particularly if I raise it up a little bit, that should do the trick. Um, so let's put that barrier all the way around. So I'll I'll call this the east wall, and if I duplicate it and call it the west wall, and then move that over to -50, then it'll be on the other side. Now let's do a similar sort of thing, adding a cube again to the middle, 0, 0, 0. And let's now position this right at the south. So that would be with a Z of, oh, well, that's changing the scale. Well, let's change the Z scale to 100 because we know that that will. Oh, actually, we don't want to do that. We want to change the X scale to 100, don't we? We'll keep the Z scale at 1 and we'll make the X scale 100. That's better. And then we'll move that all the way down to -50, and that will give us a south wall. And you know what's coming next, don't you? We're going to duplicate this south wall, and we're going to simply move it to +50 on the Z and call it north wall. Now, each of these walls has got a collider on them, so that should resist the ball. Should resist the sphere as it goes wide. Let's just raise the height of all it. So I've selected all of the walls, and I'm just raising the height a little bit. You can see that there, so that they're just a little bit high. In fact, they should all be at 0.5, so that they're all the same height. All right, and just poking above. All right, let's see what happens now when we run this game again. So the ball starts off in the middle. It's going to get a big force. It's going to send it off. Oh, and it's just banged into the wall there and stopped. So there it is. That immediately tells me that we need to put some bounciness on both the ball and the walls. So you'll notice that when you have a collider, whether it's a sphere collider in the case of the sphere or a box collider in the case of the walls, that there's room here for what's called a PHYSIC material. And the PHYSIC material basically controls the properties of uh, that you associate with things like wood and metal and rubber, you know, the bounciness, the friction, that sort of thing. So what you do is you make a new PHYSIC material, and let's imagine we have one for the sphere. So we've got a sphere PHYSIC mat, and let's imagine that we give it some bounciness. So we'll actually make it so that the bounciness, which goes from 0 to 1, let's give it a bounciness of 0.8, which is going to mean it'll lose a little bit of energy when it bounces, but not all of it. It's got some friction here, so as it's rubbing against other things, it will slow down. Um, let's apply that to our sphere. So the way that we do that is by selecting the sphere and dragging that sphere PHYSIC material onto the material on the collider. And now what should happen? Oh, I've just made a rookie error. I've been doing all of this in play mode. And whenever anything's done in play mode, it doesn't save. so I just wasted that time. Actually, some things do save. So let's just see if this has saved. So the walls are there, and the physics material is there, and it didn't apply it to the sphere. So that's the only thing that wasn't saved. So that's okay. That's not a disaster, but you've got to watch out for that. That's a very, very common error. Let's see what happens when we play this now. Now that we've given the sphere some bounciness. Hey, it bounced and it hits the other wall and it bounces off the other wall. And then, it sort of gradually loses its energy. And it's not really it's still rolling along a bit, but not as much as it was when we gave it the first impulse. All right, let's leave that there.